Hello, everyone. It's Sunday once again. It's now 2 p.m. in the UK, 10 in the evening in Manila. So, welcome to another episode of Ask the Drummer. I'm really excited about this week's guest because for the first time ever, I actually had a proper Ask the Drummer meeting with my guest last week to talk about what we're going to talk about here this week. And also, I'm really excited because if you wanted to impress someone coming originally from the Philippines, I thought, well, instead of just taking him for a coffee or something, I thought I'll take him somewhere where we can actually say, well, this is the Filipinos or like love to go to. So where else? So as I met him in Liverpool, and I took him to Jollibee, which is just amazing. It's so nice because we waited so long for Jollibee to come here in the UK, but now it's like everywhere. Every city you go, you've got Jollibee there. So, anyways, yeah. So I took him there, and he said yes. So I'm really, really happy. So now, please welcome my dear friends, Jim Sharrock of Lightning Seeds. Yay!
Hey, yeah,
And, um,
okay.
yeah. So how was your Jollibee experience? Oh,
I was going to say Jim Sharrock of the Lightning Seeds and Jollibee.
enjoy.
Yeah, delicious. Every time I walk past, there's a queue out the door now.
No, no, I've got to say that something incredibly happened when we were in Jollibee. Because, you know, so a song came on as we were
Oh, yeah.
about to sit down and have a meal. can can you tell us, can you tell us the song that came on? It's
Yeah, yeah. So I think we weirdly got onto the topic of early lightning seeds and how it came about, talking about care and big in Japan and things like that.
yeah.
And I think as we finally, the conversation moved on to Ian maybe starting the lightning seeds. I said to you, "How do you know how he got the name?" And you kind of put your finger up, and Prince actually sung the lyric right on cue. Thunder
I know.
hides what the lightning sees, and I was like, 10 points.
It's almost like Jollibee knew that you were coming.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were
yeah.
going
It
to
was
be
right
in
on cue.
Jollibee. It's
Yeah,
actually
I think you just put
now
your
for
finger
this.
up, and it went. He said it on command.
Yeah, and actually for my fellow Filipino new wavers, this is what the line from Raspberry Beret, Princess Raspberry Beret, it says, "Thunder down, thunder drowns out what the lightning sees." And then it says that you feel like a movie star. So that's where Ian Brody actually got the lightning seeds from, is from that line of Raspberry
Yeah,
Beret.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's no connection to the song. It just phonetically sounds good. And he thought it said seeds instead of
seeds.
seas. And I think that is literally, yeah, no, there's no deeper meaning than phonetically. And it sounds great and it looks good. And as far
Yeah.
as the name goes, that's all that matters.
Well, so now my fellow Filipino was, because we do love Ian Brody in the Philippines, like I've told you before that it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but anyways, before we continue with the interview, I just wanted to say hello to Trevor Palmer. He said afternoon, Jim, and it's a Queen Dolly, and Monty Mendigoria, who's in Manila. I said hi, Anna, hi, Jim, and he said that he's just singing Pure. In his room, so yeah, that's another song like Lightning Sing song. And Alan Braun Ramirez, he said, yeah, he said, hello and watching here from the Jollibee capital of the world, which is Philippines, of course. So thanks everyone for joining us. Right. So, welcome to Ask the Drummer. Episode
Thanks
28
very much.
is all about you, Jim Sharrock. And you're actually from a family of drummers because your uncle is the famous Chris
Yeah,
Sharrock,
yeah. He's the
and
first one.
of the Icicle Works. He was in the Lightning Seeds. He was in the Wild
Yeah,
Swans, and
yeah,
yeah, and the Last. And,
yeah.
and I'm so like thinking for us Filipinos, he's I'd say the new wave drummer because we love new wave in the
Oh,
Philippines. So, like,
yeah,
and he's been in
yeah,
all these amazing bands, amazing new wave bands, and also Jay Sharrock, your cousin, is also a drummer.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And he's got two baby boys now who are 2 and 4, and they're on their way. As soon as they're old enough to play in a band, they will be. There's two more coming.
Yeah. So I suppose maybe it's you're destined to be a drummer because I normally ask my guests, so like, how did you get into drumming? So I suppose that's a bit so like for you.
Yeah, yeah. It was never forced. It was always like I remember being a baby and having a drum kit that big. And then as I got older, my mum and dad never made me or, never got me lessons, but I'd always be on it. And then my uncle had come over when I was, 5, and he'd give me like one drum at a time. And I'd have a bass drum at first and then a bass drum and snare. And then
Yeah.
it slowly built up. And I eventually had a full drum kit, and that was it really. It was never, I was never forced to do it. I was kind of just given the tools, and if I wanted to play, I would. And luckily I did, yeah. Look, and the neighbours, God bless them. I can't thank them enough for all they've done for me and my drumming because they put up with a lot of a lot of noise.
Yeah. Well, I remember Tony McGuigan said that they had so like a deaf couple for their neighbors, so it was
Mm,
it was really so like
ideal. Yeah, ideal.
but my friend said, my friend Dean Clark, I don't know if he's watching, but hello Dean Clark in case you are. He said they actually worked with Chris Sharrock's Uncle Bill, who's a
Ah,
brilliant guitarist. So,
yeah,
so that would
yeah.
be your
Wow.
great Uncle Bill.
Yeah, so that's my dad and Chris are brothers, and their dad, so my granddad, unfortunately, I never got to meet him. Bill is one of my granddad's brothers, and unfortunately, just because maybe he passed away before I was born, and never really, I only know a couple of that side of the family, but I do know him, but not as immediate as say my nan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's the Sharrock family is really so like very
Yeah,
musical. You're all into. But
yeah,
was there ever
yeah.
was there ever a time that you were so like thinking, well, I'm not gonna do drums. I'm gonna do so like I'm gonna play guitar, or maybe I will sing. Did it ever sort of like
Oh,
come to
sorry, Anne,
you?
you broke up there. Could
Oh,
you,
sorry. Uh,
sorry, could you
yeah,
repeat that?
yeah. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. So has it always been so like you going into drums instead of so like maybe playing guitars or maybe
You know
singing?
what? My dad was in a band with Chris when they were younger, or a couple of bands, and he played guitar and sung. And my dad's really good, like really good guitarist, really good singer. But I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe when you're young, you look at an
Yeah.
acoustic guitar that it's really hard to hold the chords down and get a sound out of, or you pick up two sticks and hit them.
And you just
It's a bit more
you just
instant, the
bang it.
drums, isn't it? Yeah. I was like, I think I'll keep hold of these. But I play guitar now a bit. It's a great instrument to learn the guitar, and I wish I'd learned it earlier. But unfortunately, I can kind of play it a little bit now.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you actually so like had your first band, like a first proper band?
Well, I was in primary school. I'd do with a couple of boys, could play guitar a little bit, when I was probably like 10. But I would say properly joined a band when I started high school, so year 7, so I would have been 12. And I'd say within the first week or two, I got in this band with a lad called Rob, who's still a really good friend. And he was the same age as me. and his brother, who's how old's his brother now? His brother's about 31, and I'm 29, so he's 3 years older, 3 years older. And we got in with them, and because they were a bit older than us, we got to play in the Cavern as our first gig. And I think I must have been,
The
it was in
Cavern.
October. Yeah, it was the first
Oh
gig,
my
and I
god.
was, I was, I think it was 11, and I would have been 12 in November. So if I started school in September, by the October we were doing our first gig in the Cavern, and my birthday would have been the month after in November. So yeah, I would have been
Oh,
11, and we had to go on at like 7:30 because we weren't allowed in there after 9. Yeah, I've got the ticket. Some not here, but I've got the gig poster somewhere. We were called The Collision at the time.
oh my god. The
Yeah, yeah,
Cavern. I mean,
yeah,
what was it like? Because the Cavern is like the Beatles, isn't it? I
yeah,
mean, so
yeah.
playing your first gig, and you're only 11 years old at the Cavern. I mean, what was that like?
We were in the back room because they only in the front room in the Cavern they tend to just have Beatle acts on, or things around that, like cover artists. But in the back room, they kind of have a bit more original music. So that's where we were. And I remember it really well, strangely. And I always remember leaving the Cavern with my cymbals, with my dad. He had me kind of thing and had my cymbals on my back. And I just always remember the drummers who are watching this will probably get this joke, but he was on the phone and he was drunk. I was like 11 with my dad, and he went, "Hey, hey, 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 mate, what you riding on? K's or A's?" And now any drummers who are watching this will probably know what that means. But I just always weirdly remember this guy saying it to me after the gig, and yeah, it was nerve wracking. So I think we could have been playing in a room full of 2 people, or we could have played
Yeah,
to 1,000 people. The nerves would have been the same. I was
yeah, it's
terrified,
the same
but
thing.
it's like getting your first match out the way. As a footballer or whatever, you got to get one under the belt and
Yeah, yeah.
move on, kind of thing. Yeah, it was good. It was good, and with good friends, and yeah, fond memories. Funnily enough, the flat I'm in now, I've bought it. I'm still friends with the band, and one of the lads I'm really close with. I've actually bought this flat off him, weirdly, and he was in my first band with me. Yeah, yeah. He doesn't play anymore, but we're still really close.
Oh, that is so good. Well, did you have any drumming lessons, or were you just sort of like, was your Uncle Chris the one who sort of like taught you how to play drums?
You know what? He did a little bit, but he did a little bit as I was growing up when he came round and stuff. It was never a regular thing. To be honest, he was always away playing. So he probably missed more birthdays because he was working than he came to. But I think around when I started high school, before I joined, I already had the thing of like, oh, I want to be in a band, new school. I'm really gonna, knuckle down with my drumming. And I was kind of competent. I hadn't really been taught, but I had that like flair and listened to. My dad was into music, so he had loads of good records. So I'd kind of found what I liked listening to and the style of drumming, but I maybe just couldn't execute it because I didn't have the resources, but I had the flair. So when I joined secondary school around the same time as the gig, I remember my nan for my birthday was like, "I'm going to get you drum lessons, so you can give it a proper go," which I was, made up with. And
Yeah,
she must have asked my uncle, and the person who taught me actually taught my uncle too when he was, probably the same age, 11, 12. And he was a local drummer called Red Carter. Everyone look him up. Great
yeah,
jazzer, used to do ITV and all Granada sessions where a band would show up, rehearse the song once off sheet music, and then do it live on television, 3 minutes later. So that was really fortunate. I got in with this guy, and he was amazing. He taught me to read, and weirdly, like, taught me a jazz style of drumming, quite heavily jazz influenced with the reading. Maybe that's where that came from, but really rubs off uh, in how I play today. You know what I mean? And like, I've got
yeah,
almost subconsciously absorbed that. Unfortunately, I'm not too reading sheet music anymore. It's a bit of a thing I've let slip from my grip. But this guy, Red Carter, when he taught my uncle, he died in a crash. They pronounced him dead, He'd written his own death certificate, and he actually pulled through and survived. And when he taught my uncle, he had his own death certificate. When he taught me, he must have been 85, and we never played on a real drum kit. It was only on practice pads. And I remember going around as a 11-year-old boy, like, oh, I wonder if he'll let me go on the real drum kit. So I'm sorry, where was I up to? Did I lose the story?
It's Red Carter, because I actually looked him up. I looked up Red Carter, and what I found out, there's not much information about him, but what I found out that there's this article that says that if you're any drummer from the Liverpool Wirral area who grew up in the 70s and 80s will be familiar with the name Red Carter.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. Your story that he had this death certificate, but it's all and then
crazy.
And you mentioned about being competent. Another thing that I found out is apparently Red Carter always tells his students that if someone asks, how are you as a drummer, don't say you're the greatest drummer in the world. Just say you're a competent drummer, because apparently competent drummers works,
Yeah, absolutely. People get scared of a busy drummer.
So right, so he taught
I'm gonna be in the background.
So you played when you were 11, and that was your first one. Did you say the Corrosion? Is that the name of the band? The Corrosion, or
the Collision? They were called
Collision.
Collision.
Yeah.
But you won't find any. There's no internet documentation or anything. I'm sure you'll probably try and look, but you won't find anything.
Do you have a video of it? Was somebody recorded it when you were playing, or?
Yeah. There is demos, and like my friend Alex, who I mentioned before, who I bought the flat from. We have had a couple of nights where we've dug the VHS out, and there's footage of us playing in his dad's back garden, doing things like "There She Goes," "Timeless Melody." What else? Did a couple of covers. You know what I mean? I can't remember exactly what was on there, but a few Lars ones.
Yeah. Oh wow! Well, because now you said that you're 29, so it's from a different generation. Because I'd say that from your uncle's side, when he was growing up, they had Erics and Pro records and stuff. What was it like for you in Liverpool? You were in Liverpool at the time, and you were growing up, or
on the Wirral, so just over the Mersey.
Yeah. So what was it like for you when you were a teenager?
Oh, you know what? I had the loveliest upbringing. I was so fortunate. I was I had all the friends I needed. I lived in a nice suburb on the Wirral. You grow out of that area quite quick. So by the time I was 18, I was I could see the city. Do you know what I mean, in the distance, and then I knew that. It was lovely, and not so many places to perform on the Wirral. I don't think we really gigged there, but to get to Liverpool's only 20 minutes away, where there's loads of venues and stuff like that. But it was lovely. It was really nice. Really, I could not fault it. And Mum and Dad were great. They let me play until 9 p.m. That was the only rule. When 9 p.m. hits, no more drums.
So did you go? Did you go to Liverpool a lot, and maybe did you go to lots of gigs there, or?
Yeah, you know what? I'd say I was probably in ADC from the age of 12 to 14, 15 every weekend without fail, just looking at everything on the shelf, getting every magazine. I never had enough money to buy anything, but I'd, read every magazine. They were probably sick of the sight of me, to be honest, but thank God The drum shop ADC that I'm talking about, I still go to them all the time. They're great guys. If any drummers are ever in Liverpool, they've got to go to ADC Drums, which is on Cheapside. It's the best drum shop I've ever been to, hands down.
Is it still there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's still there. It's on Cheapside in Liverpool. It's tiny. You go in and you have to brush past all the drums that are everywhere. It's even if you don't play the drums and you've got half an interest and you're in Liverpool, it's worth popping your head in to see. And they're really nice guys in there.
That's where Elevator Studios is
next door.
Is it next door to it?
Yeah, next door but one. Yeah. It's exactly, they're like right by each other.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'll probably go and visit and just sort of like look at the drum kits and stuff.
Absolutely, you should. And upstairs, they're really nice guys and they'll show you around, and they actually teach drums in there as well, I believe.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. You have to get a drum lesson, man.
I can't do any drum lessons because I'm just going to be watching the drummers all like do it. But anyway, so after that first band, the Collision, which there's no sort of like record of it whatsoever on the internet, but you were, when I was sort of like googling your name, you were in the Sundowners, it's called, a band called. Was that your first like proper? Was it like your first proper band?
I'd say there's probably a little step in between that. So I'd say probably did the Collision in school, and it was a bit of like, it was more just we would rehearse loads in my friend's mum and dad's house, and it more than performing or recording, it was more just we rehearsed loads because we loved playing music, and we were all learning how to play at the same time. So we got as much fun out of rehearsing as we would. We probably enjoy rehearsing more than a gig, because we just loved learning all bits. And so then that lasted probably till I was about 15 maybe. And then kind of, there was another band knocking around, and half of the Collision kind of joined this other band, the Red Suns, and I was part of that half. And it was with lads even older than me. So the Collision, it was like they were 4 or 5 years older than me, but this time they were like, maybe 5 or 6 years older than me. They're quite a bit older, these lads, and it was good. We got a deal with Delta Sonic, Alan Wills.
Yeah.
And it was a bit more serious. We had a bit more money. We gigged more. We gigged up and down the country. It was kind of a taste of like, the Collision never had any money. It was more of a hobby, and this was a bit more like, okay, this is got a bit of like traction behind it.
Yeah.
So I did that, and in between that, I played with a band called the Sand Band. Don't know if you've heard of those.
That's Jay Sharrock's. Is that Jay Sharrock's band as well?
I switched after him. Jay went on to play with someone else, so I jumped. I filled his spot for him. Yeah, which was really good, and really good from a playing, because it was dead folky and soft. So at the time, I was probably like 17 and a bit like, let's say, more Keith Moon than a jazz drummer. And this really kind of taught me to be a bit more laid back, with the brushes, and it was good. It was a hard lesson to learn, but I enjoyed every second of it. And I did that, and they brought out a couple of albums which are fantastic. The lad Dave McDonnell, who writes them all, is like a genius, like seriously a genius. And that again was kind of like, I was slowly like going up, doing more important, bigger bands, only very small increments. But again, the Sand Band, we had a few radio sessions and stuff like, and it was just, quite eye-opening and a good learning experience. And to be 17 doing it, I felt like I was really getting a bit of a head start, just figuring out what these kind of things or situations are.
Yeah. So what year? I was all like thinking that the Sundowners, when I was Googling it, there's actually another band that I was all like looking into.
Yeah.
It's a New York band from the 60s, I think. I was all like thinking that can't be him.
Yeah, we're not that old. I'm not that great. I nearly am. But... I think the name came from Alfie, the guitar player. He like really loves Tom Petty, and because of that, we all kind of did eventually after he played it, and he just loved Tom Petty. That was his hero, and Tom Petty was in a band originally called the Sundowners, and we just literally stole the name for that reason. But it is
Oh,
quite a common name, so I imagine there's a couple of them now knocking around, kind
yeah.
of thing.
Well, Alfie is Alfie Skelly, and
Yeah, that's correct.
and, and that's another sort like Skelly family. That's another one so like very musical
Yeah, it's
because they're
almost like the Montagues and Capulets, so like the Sharrock, Skelly, yeah, all on the Wirral.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and I also found out that Fiona Skelly,
yeah,
and
singer.
yeah, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Neve,
Neve, yeah, spot on.
yeah,
Yeah,
Neve.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
that's correct. Yeah,
because I remember them because they played with the Lightning Seeds at the
yeah,
Royal
yeah, yeah,
Philharmonic.
yeah, yeah.
So you're also like back together. So like three-fifths of Sundowners playing
Well,
in.
actually, four, because Tim, who played bass, plays sax with Ian as well. So it was only Alfie, the only one missing.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
It was funny.
Yeah. So I know that you joined or you were in the Lightning Seeds in 2016. Sundowners was all like 2015. So did you leave the band to join Lightning Seeds or
So
what
I'd
happened
say I
then?
think I joined Lightning Seeds 2016, and I'd say I probably did the Sundowners and the Lightning Seeds together, probably till
Yeah,
the end of 2017. And by the time 2017 had come, when we were doing the Sundowners, we all had other jobs, and again, it was like there was money in it, but we were all mates and we had a laugh, and that was kind of the reason you did it, not to put a roof over your head or survive. It was more just like we love doing it and we have a
yeah,
laugh and we're good friends. So then I don't know, I got the job with Ian and Alfie started branching into managing. Tim got a job in Parr Street. The girls were like, no one was leaving, but we were all kind of naturally just
going,
experimenting with other things.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
we brought out another album in 2017 and we toured it and did all the festivals and kind of completed the campaign. And then it just kind of naturally, no one fell out. No one really said this is the end. It was just kind of like a bit of a stop for the time being. And a prolonged pause, let's say, whilst we all kind of, and we still hung out like we used to. Obviously not as much, but it's all the same. The group chat is still going. We're still as good mates as we were, really. But we just kind of naturally, it was the natural time to pause. But they have got a new album coming out this year, actually, which me
Oh,
and Steve Pilgrim have jumped on. And funnily enough, going back to Red Carter, Steve, me, and our Chris were all taught by him.
oh, Steve Pilgrim was also told by Red. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. So he's churning out the drummers. You know what I mean?
Well, before we talk about Lightning Seeds, I just wanted to say hello to Gilbert Chan, who was also watching in Manila. So he said hello. And Rob Jones from Liverpool, of course. Rob Jones is also another drummer from the High
Oh,
Five. And,
cool.
yeah, and Wahid as well. So Pete
Oh,
Wiley's,
cool.
Pete Wiley's Wahid. And he's your neighbor, Pete Wiley, wasn't his name?
He's not far from me, I believe.
Not
Yeah,
far from you, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. As the legend goes.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us live. So, anyways, we're gonna talk about Lightning Seeds because your first gig with them was at Warrington Music Festival,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that was
You were
actually
there.
yeah, that was the first time I've seen Lightning Seeds as well, and I remember it very very well because that was the first time I had a photograph with Ian Brody, and like I said, coming from the Philippines, it was like, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
Ian Brody. So, um, but it was not like you had really dark hair then. You looked really different from at the
Oh,
time because you were like, and
I've got a bit of grey. Yeah, it's just I know, and I got it when I was 14, and it's just kind of it's just I'm losing a battle. I'll be grey in a year or two.
yeah. So, and also I remember from what I remember from that gig is I was there during the sound check. So that's Riley Brody he was so lovely. It was actually him who said, "Do you want a photograph with my dad?"
Oh, oh,
And I was all
oh.
like thinking, "Oh my God, is he Riley from The Life of Riley?" It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. You know, Riley, I'm sure there's a long list of people who'll say the same as me, but one of the nicest guys I've ever met and one of the greatest guitar players too. He's amazing on the guitar and a lovely guy to be around. I can't sing his praises enough.
yeah, well, I mean, my only regret at the time is sort of like, because I had the chance to sort of like talk to him because he sort of like saying that he's Riley and everything. And I thought, oh my God, when I realized that that's him from The Life of Riley.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was so focused on Ian Brody that I just really wanted to have a photograph with you. I should have asked. But then, of course, for us, it's more so like Ian Brody with Care with Paul Simpson,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
but we also love the Lightning Seeds, of course.
yeah,
But, so you played with them, and this is the next thing that I want to ask you is, do you ever get so like starstruck? Because in 2019, when I saw Lightning Seeds at the Royal Philharmonic Hall in
mhm,
Liverpool,
mhm.
you played, or Paul Simpson of the Wild Swans was there.
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
and I found out that that was actually the first time that Care or Ian Brody and Paul Simpson
yeah,
performed Flaming Sword in front
yeah,
of an
yeah,
audience
yeah,
live.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you know what? It for me, it was all very like it wasn't planned. Well, I think it was loosely planned, but you know, they just kind of told us when we were going on, oh, Paul's going to get up and sing "Flaming Sword" with us, and I mean, to the drummer, I mean, I don't sing, so it's the same for me. It doesn't matter too much, but it was a really nice moment in the gig. You know, it's lovely to break it up and get someone on. I always enjoy as a spectator if the band brings someone on stage or do a cover of a song. And I always think a gig should have something like that. And I always think it just gives it another edge.
But are you again? It was all like, because we really love Paul Simpson in the Philippines.
Yeah,
He's massive. It was like, oh, it's always
yeah.
like we love you, Mr. Simpson and stuff. But so were you like I said, Chris Sharrock played on Space Flower, I think it was, so like the Wild Swans album.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So were
So
you into the Wild Swans at all, or
you know what? Not like terribly, not a huge fan. Yeah, you know what? I feel terrible saying this, but not obviously not as much as it means to you. But they are a fantastic band, and I've got Paul on some social media, and I kind of see what he's up to. I see he's got an amazing guitar collection. That was the last thing I saw. He had all his guitars out, and I was like, wow, that was a spectacle to behold.
yeah, yeah, because Lightning Seeds, I think, also started. Well, they got back together in 2016, right? Is that right? Because I remember
So
seeing.
they
Yeah,
no, it's okay. I think well, I actually my first ever gig playing with Ian and Riley was in Dubai in 2013, believe it or not. And I
oh,
think
really?
Ian was going, yeah, yeah. So Ian was going through a bit of a like a acoustic stage. They'd done a couple of little gigs supporting Blondie, but they did it as a very small kind of acoustic version of what it normally is. So it would have just been a little drum kit, and I think Riley and Ian and Martin was, I think, on another project at the time. So again, it all naturally just kind of alluded to a broken down version of the band, which was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Ian had actually I'd met him a couple of times with the Sundowners, and he'd had a go at mixing a couple of songs, and just because he knew my uncle, I would go, and we kind of politely knew each other but didn't at the same time. And anyway, about my phone just rang, and he was like, I've been let down by a drummer for a gig in Dubai. You're not free on these dates to come and do it, are you? And I was just like, oh wow, yeah, whatever I had on, I just dropped it and did it, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that was my first gig with Ian. We did that. And I think there's a little clip of it somewhere, maybe. And it was only me, Ian, and Riley. And then they did the Philharmonic gig, the first one after that. That wasn't with me on the drums. And that was with the orchestra. And, he had all the guests up. So that was kind of the next thing after we'd done Dubai. And then we started up in 2016.
Yeah, I remember now because in 2012 I actually saw Ian Brody not supporting but playing with Ian McCulloch.
Yeah,
I saw them in Manchester. So, but it's almost like he's just playing the guitar for him. So it's not like an Ian McCulloch, Ian Brody gig. It's more so like and he was playing the guitar. And then I remember there's is it EVOL, EVOL festival? Festival, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw them before. I think it's before. They were the headliners, and Pete Wiley was there as well, if I remember correctly. But, Did you play with them at the time, or is it not you?
What year? Sorry.
I think it was
2016.
2016, maybe. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I remember. And Pete Wiley was on before in the O2 Academy.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, no, it was a good gig. That was my first like kind of indoor one with them, because I'd started that year, and it was all festivals and outdoor stuff where you don't get a sound check and you've got to travel 4 hours to get there, have your tea, do the gig, and travel home. This was like the first experience of getting there and having a sound check, and I was like, oh yeah, I much prefer this kind of way of playing.
But before we continue, Trevor Palmer said that he last saw Lightning Seeds last year at the Gateways Festival in Skipton.
Oh yeah,
and he said there was torrential rain throughout the set.
A lot like today, yeah.
A lot like
it was horrendous, yeah. I remember my mum and dad came and they got soaked.
He said, does that affect the performance at all?
It affects it in a good way, I would only say, because you see, people out in the rain getting drenched, giving it, screaming and shouting. So you're like, you're basically in the rain with them. You know what I mean? We're all together, and I would say, yeah, it's a good thing for the band. You'll get a bit more out of them, I think.
Yeah.
I prefer it.
Oh, you prefer
it? Well, actually, I don't know if I prefer it, but I like it on occasions, yeah.
I also want to say hello to Guy Keegan. Guy Keegan is the drummer of the Railway Children from Wigan. So, hello, Guy. Thanks again for watching and for joining us. And Cesar Nosiliado, he said that he was there in that Dubai concert. And it was first time to see Ian Brody, and he was starstruck. But because he was really the most down-to-earth guy. Well, he is. Ian Brody is just sort of like, he got my phone and personally took our pic. So that's really nice of Ian Brody to do that. And he also said that hope you guys come back in Dubai, the Irish village in Dubai. I think that's
So you know what? We've done it twice, and we've done it one time inside the tennis stadium with the farm, and I can't remember who else was on. And then we did it outside the Irish village. Brendan will know what I'm talking about, but we've done it twice, inside and outside. And the inside the stadium was full band, and outside of the stadium was just like a bit of an acoustic version, which is weird. I've been there twice. It is quite weird. I know my way around.
I love Dubai because I used to live in the UAE for 7 years. Well, I was there for 7 years, not in Dubai though, but in Abu Dhabi, which is the other part. I don't know if you toured the UAE when you were there.
I've been to Qatar with Ian, and I've stopped over in Abu Dhabi, and I've played Dubai with Ian. So I kind of, semi-know it.
Yeah. So I'd love to go back there. I mean, it's a really, really nice place, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's a bit expensive. gone really expensive now going to
Yeah,
Dubai and the
yeah.
UAE.
It's a bit
Yeah,
hot for me. It's incredibly hot. I remember when we played in the tennis stadium for the second time, and I think we were doing a sound check, and it was like 38 degrees, and they had like a little gazebo over me. It was that hot. I think I've got a picture of it somewhere. And we had to stop for the prayer though, mid sound check, and
yeah,
I think someone just turned it off, and we were like, "Whoa!" And they were like, "No more." So we all had
yeah.
to get back inside in the aircon.
Yeah, I always say that I've had enough sunshine to last me a lifetime because coming from the Philippines and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
7 years
yeah.
in Abu Dhabi, it's like, I mean, now I complain about the rain and stuff, but I think I prefer like being here, actually not sunny or hot or
Yeah.
all the
Oh,
time.
as an Englishman, I'm gonna have to politely disagree there. I think I've got to go for the heat.
Well, Cecil said that best time to go to Dubai or the UAE is November up to late February. I think that's
Oh,
the
okay.
best weather to go there. But
Yeah.
going back to that gig at the Royal Philharmonic Hall in Liverpool. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Denise Hodgkinson and John Hodgkinson, because they're the ones who actually got me the ticket.
Ah, nice.
No, it's like it's become one of the best gigs I've ever been to, because I always
Ah,
say I'm I'm the luckiest Filipino new waver in the world, having seen that performance with Paul
yeah,
Simpson and Ian Brody doing Flaming Sword together.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
not
A
not
really
many
special moment.
that was so special. Not many Filipinos have seen that. I don't know if there was any Filipino at the time watching it, but surely I don't.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was really special for me. But also, when I was sort of like hanging out outside and waiting for all of you guys to come out,
Mhm.
Terry Hall was there as well.
Yeah, sitting next to my mum.
Really?
My mum couldn't
Oh
believe it. She was like,
my
hmm.
It's like when Ian Brody came out, I was like, oh my god, Ian Brody. But then I saw Terry Hall behind him,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
was like, oh my god, Terry
yeah,
Hall.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I was like, uh, did he actually sort of like play with you during that jollification gig, or
No,
because
he didn't, but he's one of, I'd say Ian, I've heard Ian say once or twice that his best kind of friends would be Ian McCulloch and Terry Hall. He's so close to those guys. They go back, they've stood the test of time, the friendship. So they're just
yeah,
really close. And I know, they speak all the time. And obviously Terry just came down as it was a bit of a special gig for Ian. And I just remember my mum text me like, "You'll never guess who's next to me." And I half knew because I think Riley had told me, and I just replied, "Do not strike up a conversation."
oh,
Like, just let him watch the gig. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't want to talk to you the whole time.
because I thought I've seen on social media that I think there was an occasion where he did Sense, or did
Yeah,
it?
he's done it with us. Yeah, 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 yeah. It was great. It was really good, but it was a lot different to the way we do it. Because we, at the time, it's changed a bit now, but we were playing it a bit more laid back and kind of. The idea was imagine it on a Sunday festival field, just like ringing through the crowd. And or when he did it that time, he was a bit more punky with it, let's say. So it was a bit of a shock to the band when he came in. Everyone was like, whoa, you know. But it was really good, a special moment. I'll always remember that. I'll always remember it for the rest of my days.
Because I don't know, like when you said that you told your mom not to sort of like strike up a conversation with Terry Hall.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just so giddy that when I saw him, I actually asked him, "Why did you not play Sense with them?"
Yeah, yeah. What did he
And
say?
well, he said he had a sore throat at the time, so he said
That
that
old chestnut.
yeah. So and also another thing that happened there, because Martin was the last one to come out. And I was still sort of like waiting for Martin so that he could sign my poster. And then
Yeah.
Skinny, so like the sound person.
Yeah.
Do you know? Yeah. Well,
I know Skinny. Yeah.
yeah, he's really lovely because he sort of like came out and he said to me, "Come with us. We'll go to the dispensary where the after
Yeah.
party was
Yeah.
happening."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you sure?" And then I said, yeah, come with us." And he was with his partner, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm actually gonna go to." I was actually gonna go to the after party, and then I saw, of course, I saw Terry Hall, Danny, and Brody, and everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that for me, definitely one of the best gigs ever.
Ah, that's lovely you say that. And I know how many gigs you go to. You basically keep the Northwest music industry and venues alive single-handedly. So for you to say that, it really means a lot, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh no, well, thank you so much. Again, thank you to John and Denise for that sort of like
Mm.
ticket.
You know
So
what? Sorry, you know what? Something you've just jarred my memory. But I remember on that run we did, with the Philharmonic, we actually played the Palladium in London. And a guy, you might actually know him, being as into music as you are. He'd come from the Philippines and he was in London for like 8 hours, and he'd come to see us, and he was waiting outside for us, and he was leaving the gig and going back to the airport, I think, and flying back to the Philippines.
really,
And he had a Three Lions t-shirt on. I can't remember his name, but the chances are you probably know him in
well,
some way.
yeah, yeah. Oh
But
my
yeah,
god,
I remember. Yeah, you've just jarred my memory there. I forgot about that.
oh my god, I'm gonna look him up and sort of like find out who it was. So like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
London.
He had an England shirt on it, like the Three Lions memorabilia England shirt, I seem to remember.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's so like that's how much we love so like Ian Brody and Lion Seeds and
Yeah,
Care,
yeah,
of course, and stuff.
yeah.
And in 2019, you also went to Tokyo as well, played in
That was
Tokyo.
in between the Palladium and the Philharmonic. Weirdly, that was sandwiched in between.
Well, I was all like thinking, well, they're already in Tokyo. I wonder if they're actually gonna go just a bit further and go to Manila.
Ah,
So,
I would have. Don't I would be there in a heartbeat. But Tokyo was amazing. Tokyo was like my favorite place by a considerable amount in the world. It just like out of everywhere I've been, it just blew my mind. I cried on the way home. I was like emotional. I was like, this was
oh.
amazing, but happy tears. You know what I mean?
And you met Hero.
Met Hero, and my
Yeah.
mum flew over. Her friend works for British Airways, and obviously the gig had been planned months ahead because it's got to be. And my mum's friend worked for BA all her life, and I think over a slightly drunken conversation, she said, "I'll request the flight and see if we can go." And 2 weeks later, my mum got a text saying, "Oh, you just owe us £100 for the return flight to
Oh
Tokyo."
my god.
So my mum came for the last gig. She was there for the last day, and she got there, and obviously jet lagged, and we were still jet lagged. And she came in and sat next to me, and I gave her a big hug. Like surreal. We're in Tokyo together, and I said, "How was the flight?" Because it was one of those flights where you could sit anywhere, wherever there's a free seat. Because you're a
Yeah.
friend of the crew. So she went, "Oh, I got in first class," and I was like, we were all like, everyone's heads turned because that's probably like, it's got to be a few £1,000s.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, how was it? How was the flight?" And she went, "Oh, do you know what?" And I was like, "What?" And she went, "The headphones were a bit heavy because you get posh headphones, whereas we were lummoxed in the back in economy, with my knees up by my head like that."
Well, hopefully you will get to Manila someday soon. I mean, there's still
Yeah,
so like
with a
this
bit of luck.
virus. Yeah. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully someday, because the Filipinos would love to have you there. But I
Oh yeah, I
think,
mean, I'm sure we'd love to go.
yeah, I think you also have to practice some of the care songs as well. So
Yeah, I
not
think
just
you'd
playing
gladly do
to
that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We still do. We still play Flame and Sword like very, very regularly. I think like we went to Mexico in November. That was the last gig we did, and I seem to remember we played it there. It's as much in the set as some of the big ones. You know what I mean? He really likes
Yeah.
playing that song, which is good. I love playing it. I think the band do as well.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
right. So after, I don't know if this is after, but oh no, because of course you still live with the Lightning Seeds, but She Drew the Gun. That's another band that I saw. Like, think, were you in? Were you actually in She Drew the Gun, or did you just play with
Yeah, so
them?
that was like the second album campaign I did with them. That was really cool. It kind of, again, it was slotted in between the Lightning Seeds, and they got this album we made, which weirdly Steve Pilgrim also played on a couple of tracks, and so did I. It's not like we planned to do this; it just seems to happen quite a bit.
We're also like
But
connected. You're all connected all
yeah,
these.
oh yeah, yeah. So so I did that for a bit. Yeah, that was good, and the album did really well on Six Music. Six Music kind of like took it under the wing. Steve Lamacq championed it, so we did really well. Istanbul, Glastonbury, festivals, what have you. It was really good. The nice guys, and yeah, don't tend to see so much of them anymore. But yeah, I think they've got a new album out, and they're carrying on, climbing the ladder.
Yeah. And talking about Steve Pilgrim, because I saw you play with Steve Pilgrim as well. The reason
Yeah,
last
yeah,
year in Manchester.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Steve Pilgrim is also a brilliant drummer. I'm
Yeah,
hoping that I'm hoping to get him on it, on as the drummer someday. But
yeah.
what's it like? So like playing drums for
For Paul
someone.
Weller's drummer. Yeah. Yeah, because when he texts me, he was just feeling us out because his guy had gone to London, or I'm not quite sure what happened, something like that. And he was just like, "Would you be free?" And he kind of treaded quite cautiously around getting us in, which I can understand because he's a drummer. He's got to be playing with a drummer who can hit the spot for him, because he's a drummer. He's not very, he's not loose with it by no means. So as soon as he
Yeah,
texted, I was just like, "Oh, I've got to give that a go." And you know what? We did it with Vicky, Steve,
yeah,
Martin on trumpet, and Rachel. And honestly, I had such a good time doing those gigs. What a lovely bunch of musicians. And it was kind of like the precursor before COVID lifted. We got in, like, we had a couple of gigs through the summer because it was kind of smaller capped venues he was doing. And yeah, I had such a good time doing that and learning off him. And obviously he's a drummer, so I just would pick his brains to know. And I think he was a bit like, Vicky would say, we're like brothers, and I'm the annoying little brother just asking him questions all the time. But I love him. He's a great guy. I get on really well with him. I haven't seen him in a while. I went to see him play with Paul Weller in the Olympia in November, the day before I went to Mexico. But Steve's fantastic musician. And what I really enjoyed was playing the drums with a drummer on guitar, because he plays the guitar like a drum kit. So a lot of it was quite free and, just kind of let loose and go for it. And there would be odd moments where you'd be like, wow, we're right, just caught that bit. I'm not saying it would happen every time, but there'd be an odd moment where we just really just be in between each other in a great kind of way. And yeah, I love doing that. His songs are fantastic. His new album sounds really good as well. I think that's going to be coming out later this year. Definitely one to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, well, I saw him last Friday. Well, not last Friday, but when I went to Jollibee with you, I saw him play drums for John Head. And of course, Vicky was there as well. So John Head's sort of like band is like Steve, um, Steve Pilgrim, Vicky, and Steve Martin as well. So it's basically so like his band, but without John Head.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but the most recent one. Oh, but before I ask you about the most recent, so like drumming thing that you did, that you did is I've got to say that when you play the drums, you always look so like happy, and because most drummers are so like when I see drummers, they're so like they've got this concentrated. It's like the concentration on their faces. It's like
Yeah.
really, you don't see them smiling, or they're just so like really doing the drum things. But with you, it's really nice because you're smiling all the time, and it's almost like it's almost like every beat is just precise, and you know exactly where to where to hit.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess a bit of a slightly conscious thing would be when when I feel in myself like I'm playing well, it's when I'm not really like thinking about it that much. And it's weird. You're not thinking, but you're not concentrating, and you're in a weird like somewhere in between. And a good gig is always a bit of a blur to me. I'm like, wow, that just came and passed me by, and it's like, I don't know. I always find a gig that's a bit harder, a bit tougher. It feels like you're on stage for a while, but a good gig is a blur. You can't even remember playing one song, but you know it was good. And yeah, I don't know. Or maybe I'm just thinking about my tea when you see me in a matter. I'm thinking about Jollibee. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll have that again later.
Well, it was so like what it reminds me of is like Ringo Starr, because Ringo
Yeah.
Starr, when you look at some of the videos, he always looks
Great.
like really happy just playing and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a compliment if I've ever heard one.
so recently you did an album with Jamie Webster.
Yeah, two. Well, yeah, 1.5, 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so you played drums on his recent, like the latest album called, is it Moments? I'm sort of like
Moments. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, which
Moments.
came out at the end of January. Yeah.
Yeah, so can you tell us like more about like how did you get to play drums with Jamie Webster, and what was it
Yeah,
like?
of course. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so Alfie Skelly, who played guitar in the Sundowners. So when that, I was saying he kind of got into managing bands a bit as around the time I started playing with Ian, and that was kind of his side project for the time, or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, he's done really well, Alfie. He's really like achieved some things with the bands he's got, and I used to play the drums for him, so we've got a good relationship. And
Yeah.
he just said, "Oh, Jamie's looking for a drummer. It'll be good." And so I just trust what he says, kind of thing. And I met him with Jamie, and this was of January 2020, and we did like 2 gigs, and then COVID came in. His first album wasn't done. So as the lockdowns were like sporadic over the summer, or here and there, we kind of got into Park Street and finished the first album off. But the first album was a bit more like, the idea was meant to be a bit more bedroomy, and I only played on a couple. The producers just kind of put a drum machine in for few. It was kind of it wasn't meant to be like a polished thing. It was meant to be quite raw, and like he just had these songs for a while. So obviously we couldn't gig it, and it must have been more frustrating for him. So because it's his record, but it was very frustrating that people on social media were loving these songs, but no one could hear them for real, or hear them personally. So anyway, I think he got into the top 6 with his first one, and just immediately, because there was no gigs, he was like, right, I'm just going to start writing the next one, which is largely about COVID and what everyone's just been through. So if you give it a listen, you'll probably find the lyrics quite relatable. And we would use the chorals rehearsal room to practice. He'd have these songs that he'd get together, maybe 4 or 5, and we'd all go to the chorals rehearsal room, and we'd just figure them out. The band, which would be me, Danny Murphy, who plays in Peach Fuzz, who's on your T-shirt, yeah, and Tim, who was in the Sundowners, and we'd just go to the chorals room and get these songs together. And like these new batch of songs he had at the time were a bit more like, I guess his first ones he'd had for a while, and he was just him with his guitar, and that came across in the songs. It was like, the music was just trying to support that. But this new batch he had was more bandy, and well, not more bandy, but and maybe it left more space for me, Danny, and Tim to get our hands on it and pull it in a few different directions, which I think benefited his songs, and he maybe in some respects wrote them for that reason. So we do them. We got maybe 8 or 9 together in the chorals practice room, and he got COVID. It was around Christmas time, And I was texting him like, oh, if you need anything, give us a shout. Fortunately, I'd avoided it. And
Yeah.
then the Rockfield documentary had aired. I don't know if you've seen it, Life
Oh
on the
yeah,
Farm,
yeah,
or and it was
yeah.
on that. It was on the week he had
Monmouthshire.
COVID.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
I text him saying, "Oh, if you're bored and you got nothing to watch, you should check this documentary out. It's great. I don't know if you know Rockfield, but you should check it out anyway." So anyway, an hour and 30 minutes goes by and my phone's ringing and he's like, we are going to Rockfield. And I was like, all right, he was obviously really excited, but I was like, all right, cool. He's like, the second album, we have to do it, residential. I'm determined. And lo and behold, 3 months later, he was like, I've booked it. Well, the record label had booked it and he got Dave Aringer to produce the second album. But it wasn't like he wanted to go to Rockfield with whichever producer. He was kind of open to a different residential studio. He definitely wanted to do the residential thing, but he didn't know. He wasn't really massively, dictating where it would be. It was kind of
Well,
the
yeah,
producer
yeah,
would
yeah.
suggest the location, because that's how it kind of goes. The producer would go, I know this place, I can get a good sound there. And lo and behold, Dave and Jamie really hit it off well, like instantaneously. And Dave uses Rockfield all the time, so it was kind of just like he has to be the guy to do this.
Wow.
And yeah, we went for 2 weeks, the end of April to the start of May. It was amazing. We had sun,
Oh
we
my
had power cuts, we had lovely food. Yeah, I had a great time. Everyone was really sad to leave. It was a bit of a somber morning when we were going.
Yeah, well, I've got to get a copy of that because I know I need to go and see Jamie Webster live.
Oh
Because
yeah, 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 yeah.
I keep seeing, so like my friends, so like on Facebook, they were posting about so like Jamie Webster, and I still haven't seen him. It was like, oh my god, I've
I'll
got
bring
to
you on.
go.
It'll be my pleasure, but I won't let you go at the front.
And I think the album so like got to number 2. Is it number
I think it finished
2
at
of them?
3. The
3 in the
Weekend just
chart?
picked
Yeah.
us. Yeah, yeah. But that's his first one got to 6, and his second one got to 3. So hopefully the third one will
Yeah,
get to number 1.
yeah, that's brilliant. Because I mean, my friends that I normally so like when I go to like Mick Head gigs and John Head gigs, there's always this regular group of people who are there, and they're all sort of like saying to me, "You've got to go and see Jamie Webster." It's like I know, I have to really. I have
Well, and next time it's on, it'd be my pleasure. Let me know. I'll invite you down.
to. All right, well that would be good. Right, so that's the most recent one. But you're rehearsing for the Lightning Seeds at the moment, or because I think you're going to be doing because it's nearly summer and it's a festival season
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. And he's got some new music on the way, sounding really good, like really good. I can't say too
Tell
much,
yeah,
but
oh
it
yeah,
sounds.
yeah, of course,
All I
yeah.
can say is Riley called over and played me some of it, and we had it on repeat because it was that when you listen to a song, for example, at the moment, mine is "Pocket Full of Rainbows" by Elvis, and as it's getting to the end, you want to hit repeat again,
Yeah,
and they really have that feeling. Very Lightning Seedy. I would say an Ian Brody special.
And oh wow.
Yeah,
Well, we really look forward to that. Of course,
yeah,
you've got like you're going to the ones that I've seen so far on your Facebook pages. Oh, not yours, but the Lightning Seeds Facebook page. There's the Isle of Man. So you're
yeah,
going there. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
in Doncaster as well. So you're playing a festival in
yeah.
Doncaster. So
And you probably know more than me, but I believe so. I just get the dates, and that's it. No, I don't.
well, I've got to ask you, do you have any, apart from your Uncle Chris, do you have any drumming heroes?
Drumming heroes without sound. Yeah, I mean Ringo is a big one, and I know that sounds quite contrived, being from Liverpool, but I have to say I'm a big Beatle fan. I just love his vibe as well. But I'm very even like I'm quite open to everything, and even rubbish drumming I actually quite like in some ways because you hear a bit you wouldn't, that someone else wouldn't do, and you go, "Oh, that's interesting, they've done that." And
Yeah,
I'm very just. think the Spotify culture as well. I'm just very varied. Jazz drummers, I enjoy YouTube and jazz drummers quite a lot, and the style they play, and a lot of funk drumming. Yeah, it's funny because you see on Instagram now as a drummer, obviously if I follow loads of drum pages and I go on my explore feed, you see a lot of drummers and it just seems to be about speed and how fast you can hit everything. And it just makes me think, oh, I'm so not. It just makes me go, oh, it's like listening to death metal, you know, they're hitting everything as fast as they can. And it's like, I just hope drummers don't all become like that, because that's what every time I go on the internet, that's what I see now. And I've found a couple of drummers who are really cool, and like, or what I think is cool. But yeah, I'm very varied. Yeah, there's not one person, or I'm very very open to all kinds of drumming.
Do you know what? I'm sure you know this. A drummer, he's not here. He's sort of like he's left the planet. But Hal Blaine.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah, because a couple of the guests I've had on Ask the Drummer, they've mentioned Hal Blaine is this drumming hero. Now, when I googled Hal Blaine at the time, one of the sort of like best drumming sort of like things that he did was "Be My Baby" by the Nats. Yeah, and I was sort of like thinking, oh my god, they played that. The Lightning Seeds sort of like play that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I forgot that then.
Yeah, so I looked, sort of like checked my videos and see if you're actually playing the drum part on that, and then I realized that was actually your resting. That was the time when you rest.
You know what? We've done it a couple of ways, and I think the last way was a little bit like that, but not. It's such a big song. Ian can easily sing that, and I think sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. It's very loose the way we do it, but Hal Blaine, what a drummer, what a drummer.
So you actually sort of like play drums when you're doing it, so it's not just sort of like Ian Brody singing "Be My Baby," it's sort of like an acoustic thing, or?
Oh no, I think the last time we did it, we were all coming in. I seem to remember I think he started on his own, but it ended with all of us playing, but a very soft, gentle kind of it'll meander you through the sections. It's not very aggressive or anything like that.
Yeah, because there's sort like on Wikipedia it actually says that it's one of his best sort of like performance is, or best sort of like drum thing is that song.
Hal Blaine. Oh, it's instantly recognizable, isn't it? But he played on loads of stuff, didn't he? Beach Boys stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've got a book somewhere. Here we go. You should check this out, and if you like Hal Blaine, or any drummers out there, Ian from the Coral actually gave me this, but it's fascinating.
Oh my god! Because
I really recommend. That might be the other way.
Yeah. Because a few weeks after, well, no, a few days after, I can't remember his name. Sorry, Paul Quinn, the drummer of the Soup Dragons. A few days after he told me about it, I actually watched the Wrecking Crew documentary.
Ah, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and Hal Blaine was there. I was like, oh my god, all these songs, and you don't feel like really know who the drummer was until I saw that documentary. It was him playing all this.
Yeah.
But we've got Dubia Frederick, who's in California. He said, "Good afternoon, Nan and Jim.
Hey.
Big hello from the Bay Area." He said, "How would you describe Lightning Seeds fans?"
Oh, a very mixed bag, all ages. There's people younger than me there, and obviously people older than me. But a good story would be we played in Mexico in November, and we were so excited to go over there. My girlfriend came, Riley's girlfriend came. It was like couldn't wait to get there, especially after COVID. It was like that was our first trip away. And so we were playing, and there's a lot of jet lag and altitude going on. And we were playing, and they fly drones around the stage when you're playing. Like, they fly them onto the stage, and you're almost like ducking. It's quite bizarre. So anyway, there's this guy, and he was like double denim, long hair, like a Mexican guy, and he knew like every word, and he'd be like holding his hair, like almost crying. But you know what's really nice? What all they do there? All the crowd actually turned and cheered him on. And it was like so it was really nice. I've never witnessed that before. They were cheering this guy on in the crowd, and we were kind of playing for him. And it was weirdly like a really special moment between us and him. And that was one of I've never seen anything like that before. Like the fans appreciating another fan so much. It was really nice and warming, actually.
Well, do you like playing? I was going to ask you. So, like, what's your most favorite The Lightning Seeds track? Like, play live.
To play the drums on.
Yeah, to play the drums on. Yeah.
So I would say at the moment it's probably You Showed Me, and that is because when we did the Jollification run, which is obviously just before COVID, we really went into all the tracks that Ian had, and You Showed Me as a cover of the Turtles version.
Yeah.
So Ian obviously took the original string part and chopped them in to his version. But when we were doing the last run, we kind of sat down at the computer and chopped out all like the main drum bits I'd play, but left a cool few little, like, there's a scratch in there, like, and all that kind of stuff's in, and I play along to that. And when the strings come in, every time I hear them, it's just like a shiver coming down my spine, and I just really enjoy playing the drum stand. It's not technically like, anything advanced. There's a big jam at the end where we go a bit crazy, but it's just, I don't know, it's just so satisfying every time you play it. I can't explain why, really.
And of course, your Uncle Chris played the original.
Yeah.
Because last night I was watching the video of You Showed Me. It was all like this Japanese couple trying to kill each other.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's funny because Martin and Chris Sharrock and the other band members, they were just so like behind and not really.
Like there's no need for them.
Well, this is another question from Trevor. I was going to ask you this as well, but Trevor said, do you enjoy playing Three Lions?
You know what? Yeah, and like I would play any song if it makes people happy. That is my job. And I know my view on Three Lions in England is it's uniting the country for once instead of separating it down the middle. And if it makes that many people happy, it makes me happy, and I'm doing my job. And it gets a tough rep, Three Lions. It gets a tough rep as much as people love it. And we just, as a band, we're playing it for the people. It's not about us, it's about them. And we're just there merely to serve the purpose of playing the song, which, is the unofficial national anthem for some people. Whether other people like it or not, it just is. And it carries so much stigma, and it's about togetherness, and it's quite sad, really. It's not like a happy song. And I like it, and I love it because there's two versions. There's a 96 and a 98 version, isn't there? And my uncle's on one, and Zach Starkey's on the other. But the version I play live is kind of a good mix of both of them. And I have to say it, I'm sorry to my Uncle Chris, but I think Zach's fills are a bit better, so I've been nicking them and putting them ones in.
I remember you played Shine On in 2019, and you had a lot of sound problems.
Yeah. And when you said to me before, is there anything you don't want me to mention? I should have said Shine On.
No, so I can tell from Ian Brody's face the frustration, and because it's not like the band's fault. It's just it's just the sound. So I don't know what happened, but before you came on, Cast were on, and absolutely amazing. And I remember this was so. I just felt, I don't know. It's so it's so heartwarming to see John Power and Keith O'Neill actually watching from, sort of
Oh
like
yeah, 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 yeah,
backstage,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they were loving it. They were so like really enjoying lightning seeds. I was like, oh my god, they're they're like fans of,
Yeah, yeah.
Lightning Seeds.
Yeah, no, it's nice. And you know what? It was out of our control what happened that evening. It was a technical error that actually took a while to resolve, and we found out what it was. But it
Yeah.
was hard because Cast were on, it was a great gig, and we just lost. It was like we'd lost a final of a football match, and it was out of our control. And I remember feeling really somber about it. To be honest, I had to go back to my room and kind of like, I've never had a gig go kind of that wrong and out of my control.
Oh,
I guess if you make a mistake, it's your own fault. But when it's out of your control, it's even more frustrating. And I remember we went to Japan the next day. We drove home and slept, and then we went to Japan. And I remember thinking, like, get me out of here. I need to go and get my confidence back.
do you know what I remember from that Shine On gig? So like Ian Brody saying not to get the chips, because there's a chip shop, so like just
Yeah,
selling this
yeah.
all like really horrible chips. But anyway,
You know what?
so
I could say on behalf of everyone in the Light Seas, we apologise for that, but it was just out of our control. And hopefully, anyone who was there will come again, and you'll see it for what it really is.
oh no, it was like the gig at the Ritz.
Yeah, yeah. In
That was
September.
yeah, that was
Yeah, that
just
was a
so
good
like
one.
really amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have any advice to sort like drummers who are like younger than you that you wanted to go into drumming as well? And would you tell them to
Uh,
sort of like have drumming lessons? And
yeah, you know what? The drumming is like a really black art, if you know what I mean by when I say that. There's no correct way to tune a drum kit. It's just if it sounds good. Whereas a guitar, it's E, A, D, G, B, E, and that's just what the tuning is. But drumming is so like, there's no rules. It's just do it, let yourself get into it. Like I would say, if you were taking up drum lessons and you were wondering whether to do grades or not, from my perspective, I would probably disagree and say don't do grades. But equally, it depends what you want to be, what type of drummer, what jobs you want to get, if you even want to get any jobs from it. But I just find grades will kind of send you down a path. Whereas if you just have lessons and someone kind of nurtures it out of you, you'll get your own identity, like so many drummers have, like Ringo, Buddy Rich, whoever,
yeah,
Ginger Baker, they all, Hal Blaine, you hear Hal Blaine, you can almost tell it's him. And I just think throw the kitchen sink at it and just, you've got to give it your all really and love it and breathe it. And yeah, you can't get away with just half learning, I guess. But if you
yeah,
want to do it as a hobby, it'll be the most relaxing thing. I've said this to a few people. If I'm a bit stressed out or I've got loads on, I'll just come into my flat. I've got an electric drum kit and I'll just go at it for an hour or half an hour and I'll feel so much better after.
and always smile. Also, like you, like what you do is you always sort of like you look as if you're really enjoying, so like you're really enjoying the gig and just sort of like
Yeah,
smiling
yeah.
all the
Well,
time.
I am as well. It's not a false thing. That's true. Maybe not shine on. I bet I wasn't smiling there, but
Right, so when are you going to? You've got to tell Ian Brody this. You've got to go to Manila because
oh
you've
yeah, yeah,
got loads of fans there, so you really have to. You really have to go.
yeah. No, I'm
So,
sure we'd love to.
do you want to say anything to sort of like the Lightning Seed care fans in the Philippines? Sort of like just any message
Um,
for them?
ho- hopefully be there soon. And if you guys can find a promoter or bring us over, I'm sure that if the fees are good, that's right, we'll be over there in no time.
Oh, that's brilliant. And then they feed you Jollibee there as well. It's like if if you think that Jollibee is good here in the UK, I mean in the Philippines, it's actually a lot better.
Try it there. Right. Okay, yeah, no, I'll be sure. I'll send you a picture.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jim. I mean, I'm
Oh, my
really
pleasure.
glad because I was so worried that you'd say, well, because I know that you're a bit shy as well, and you weren't sure whether you wanted to go on Ask the Drummer or not. But I'm so glad that you actually did. I'm really, really grateful. And
Oh,
and
thanks. You made me feel really at ease, Anne. So thank you for having me as well.
I just hope that you enjoyed it, and you had
Oh
a
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and I'm definitely going to take you to Jollibee again next time I'm in Liverpool.
It's
Next
on
time
me
I'm
this time. You got it last time.
well, thank you so much, and
My pleasure, Anne.
enjoy the rest of the weekend. Even in
Yeah,
this weather. So
I'll be locking myself away.
and hopefully see you again soon. Yeah.
Absolutely, Anne. Absolutely.
Yeah. Take care. All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye, Jeff. Bye. Oh my God! Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. So, again, for the non-Filipinos who are not familiar with Jollibee, I mean, it's like you've got to sort of like go if you're in Liverpool, Leeds, and I think they're opening a new branch in Manchester next month. So I know that there's one in Edinburgh opening next week. So yeah, so just check that out. It's like it's really, really good. But anyways, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and please do keep an eye out for next week's guest announcement post. It's going to be another amazing drummer for next week, also from Liverpool. So yeah, please do keep an eye out for the guest announcement. And like I always say, love music, love life. And you've seen Jim Sharrock there. He's so amazing. And he's so gorgeous as well. So love, love, love drummers. And see you again next week. Bye. Bye.